Are you looking to increase your sales and boost your selling abilities to the max? Welcome to the Continuous Sales Improvement Podcast with best-selling author Eric Lofholm. Eric has trained over 10,000 students, and they have generated over $500 million in sales increases over the last 20 years. One thing he understands is that being a lifelong learner is key to your sales success. Every week, Eric Lofholm interviews elite sales and business professionals and discovers what helps make them the legends they are today.
Hi, this is Eric Lofholm, and I want to welcome all of you to the Continuous Sales Improvement Podcast. I have a fantastic guest today. Today, we're going to be joined by my mentor, Dr. Donald Moine. And I met Dr. Moine back in 1993. He's been my coach and mentor, and more recently, my business partner. A little bit about Dr. Moine. He's one of the world's leading experts on sales and increasing sales. He's written numerous books on sales increase, including Unlimited Selling Power, one of the all-time great books on sales. He has a PhD in psychology. He wrote his PhD dissertation on what separates sales superstars from average salespeople, literally cracking the code on how to create sales excellence. Dr. Moine, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Eric. It's a real pleasure to be here. Hello, everybody.
All right. Well, let's start off, Dr. Moine. Share with everybody a little bit about your background so the listeners can get connected to you.
Well, you touched upon a couple of the things, Eric. It's a very unique background. People who meet me, I think it's one of the reasons they remember me. They say, I've never met anyone I've never met a psychologist who does what you do. Folks, as you know, most psychologists work with people who have psychological issues, mental health problems, very important work, or they're school psychologists or they teach. And for 35 years, I've been working with salespeople, sales superstars, marketing people, entrepreneurs, business owners, Fortune 500 companies. And what I've devoted my life to is helping people make more sales, make more money, grow their business, grow personally along the way. You know, you've got to enjoy the journey. Helping businesses hire more people. I'm really obsessed with growing businesses, helping to strengthen our economy. And as Eric mentioned, I wrote the first ever PhD dissertation on sales superstars, and I used tools that no one else had ever used. We all know that salespeople make their money through words, through the power of persuasion. You can have the best products in the world, the best services in the world, but if you don't have great words to make those products, to make those services come alive, you're not going to be as successful as you deserve to be. So I use tools from a science called psycholinguistics to study exactly what sales superstars were doing that average people weren't doing. And believe it or not, this had never been done before. Despite all the books written about sales, no one had really studied salespeople from a scientific viewpoint. And I uncovered word patterns, language patterns, ways of using sales stories and metaphors. And I broke them down into learnable steps so that average salespeople could learn this. And very early on, I was a young guy in my early 20s. I got my PhD. I was in my mid-20s then. I worked my way through 9 years of college as a salesman. So I was deeply involved with sales on a personal level before I decided to study sales superstars scientifically, because I wanted to figure out, why I wasn't always the best. Sometimes I was up near the top, but I was not the best. And I wanted to figure out personally how I could get better. And I've just been on this journey. After my dissertation came out, people I think they had their minds blown by it, because I found out that some sales superstars were using hypnotic techniques. They were actually using powerful forms of indirect hypnosis, not to trick anyone, not to put them to sleep. We're not talking about entertainment hypnosis or Las Vegas style hypnosis, but because it's a way of building a deep, deep relationship with someone else. You don't even have to think about it as hypnotic. Just think about it as fascinating word patterns. totally fascinating, mesmerizing sales conversations. And that's what they were able to have with the power of language. And so I was a guy in my mid-20s, and I was hired by Wall Street firms. I was flying back and forth from Los Angeles to New York to train stockbrokers on Wall Street. And I started doing a lot of work with financial planning firms, and that expanded to Fortune 500 firms. And I started working with entrepreneurs, startup companies, high-tech companies, real estate companies. I've worked in all these different industries from like A to Z, from like anabolic laboratories, which sold very expensive vitamins, to Zurich Insurance on the Z side, which I worked with them in Australia and in Canada, big Swiss insurance company, and then everyone in between. And I just love working with salespeople. I admire them. I think they add so much to our economy. And I think I think you share that same belief that, salespeople are just some of the most valuable contributors to our country and our economy, because you can make great products and great services, but without salespeople, our economy would grind to a halt. So that's just a little bit about my background.
Yeah, and there's a lot more to it. And I wanted to touch on one piece, because a lot of people are familiar with neurolinguistic programming. And you came up in the NLP movement, where it was created out of UC Santa Cruz. And maybe just for 1 minute, you could just touch on your experience with that, because that's one other layer of ways on how you look at things.
It is. Folks, I was very blessed. I was at the University of California at Santa Cruz when Richard Bandler was a fellow student. We were undergraduates, and John Grinder was a professor of linguistics. And Richard had invented this thing called, with John's help, this thing called the meta model, META. Meta means beyond. It was a model beyond existing models of knowledge. And it was a combination of modern psychology and linguistics and psychobiology. And they got together and created something from that called neuro-linguistic programming, which all of you have, I'm sure, have heard of. But this was way back in the mid-1970s. And at first it was just a thing in Santa Cruz, California, Northern California, but it was so powerful. It started catching on around the country and then around the world. And it was so exciting to be there because new ideas were literally being developed every week, every month. You could go to seminars and learn the latest strategies, the latest breakthroughs. And a lot of it was around psychotherapy, which I was trained in, clinical hypnosis, clinical psychotherapy. But my interest was always in business applications. There weren't as many people interested in business applications back then. So I kind of pioneered some of the business applications in areas like scripting, very powerful word combinations you can use in sales and marketing to get more business, increase profits. And the latest thing I've been working on for the last 7 or 8 years is invisible scripting. So really powerful, authentic scripts that come from your heart, from your value system, that are invisible. No one thinks you're using scripts. It's just an organized collection of words. And done well, it works like magic. And so that's what I'm just super excited about these days.
Outstanding. And I wanted Dr. Moine to share that with all of you, because he has a depth of knowledge. I've never met anyone that has his level of understanding of sales and the sales process. And when I was a bottom producer back in the early 1990s, I was introduced to his ideas, and in a very short amount of time became a top producer. And I just love sharing Dr. Moine with my community so others can have access to his brilliant mind. And let's jump right in, Dr. Moine. What is your best business increasing or sales increasing idea?
Wow, that's a great question, Eric. I'll actually share a couple things with the audience. I don't know if I necessarily have one best one, but I would say having a powerful mindset, a mindset that enables you to do the things that you want to do with your life, overcoming limiting beliefs. And this goes far, far beyond positive mental attitude. It's really the entire way you look at the world, the totality of your belief systems, being able to identify anything that holds you back and combining that with having $1 million presentations, having presentations that can literally help you make, it may not be $1 million at first. It might be, you close a $3,000 sale here and you close a $2,000 sale there and another sale that might make you $30,000, but it adds up to $1 million or several $1 million over your career. I'm now working with people who are making, over $5 million a year from sales. And it's just amazing to think that that's possible, but because they add so much value to our economy, it's the way that they're rewarded. And I take things I learn from them because I'm like Eric. I'm a lifetime student. I know that the reason that you are listening to this podcast, you're watching the show, is that you guys are also lifetime students. So I celebrate you. I'm learning from these people I work with, these sales superstars I'm working with. And I'm working with a lot of just, great average producers who want to be superstars, people that are making $100,000 a year, $150,000 a year. And they want to hit that $200,000 a year level, the $250,000, the $300,000 a year level. So I take the things I'm learning from the superstars and share it with all of my other students. So it's a feedback loop. We're all learning from one another, and it's a virtuous feedback loop. It just creates more and more good, more and more strength in our economy every day. So I would say it's those two things, Eric, the combination of powerful mindsets, the ones that empower you, help you overcome any limiting beliefs in your life, combined with very powerful, what I call $1 million sales presentations.
Let's just talk go a little deeper on the sales scripting or the sales presentation. And could you just speak to, do you think most salespeople are spending enough time preparing their presentations in advance, or do you think that's an area where they really have a huge opportunity for growth?
I love to compliment salespeople, but I'm a very honest person, and I would say it's one of the major weaknesses of most salespeople. They don't spend enough time on their presentation. They think to themselves, I will think of something. When I'm hit with that objection, I'll just think of something. It'll be good enough. I met Zig Ziglar in the 1990s, and Zig's a great guy. I learned a lot from him. And one of the things that Zig calls it, he calls it shooting from the hip and shooting from the lip. When you're unprepared to give a great presentation, when you think, I'll just go by memory, I'll just wing it, shooting from the hip and shooting from the lip. I always remembered that. And I was talking to Zig about how he delivers his stories, because he was famous for his great inspirational stories. And sometimes he tells jokes, funny little stories. And he shared something with me that stayed with me. He said, Donald, before I tell a story or a funny little joke, I practice it 20 times. And I said, Zig, you are a world-class speaker. You've spoken around the world on all these big stages to tens of thousands of people. Why do you need to rehearse it 20 times? He said, because I'm a professional, and that's what professionals do. So, folks, my message to you is you're a professional. These words, you should all write this down in your notes. If you're taking notes, write this down. My words can make me rich. My words can make me rich. You might think your product can make you rich. You might think, oh, I've got the best insurance policies in the world. I've got the best computers in the world that I'm selling, or whatever it is. I'm sure they're very great. They're fantastic. But no company has the best products all the time. If they did, then all the other companies would go out of business. And you might think you have the greatest service. I'm sure your service is great, but products and services don't make you a millionaire all by themselves. You've got to have great presentations to go along with it, to make the products come alive in their minds, so that they get really excited, and excited not just about the products and services, but excited about the relationship with you, the opportunity to work with you, someone who really understands them, who really cares about them. So, Eric, to answer your question, people don't spend enough time on scripting, on preparing great presentations, anticipating what's going to happen, because you can anticipate all their objections. If you've been in any area of sales for a year or longer, you've heard all the objections. You know what they're going to say. The only question is, how prepared are you for their predictable objections? Now, here's another thing to write down in your notes, another 5-star bonus idea. Whoever has the best words wins. Whoever has the best words wins. So if they have better words than you, if they have a better script than you, if their objections are better than your presentation, they might think they win, but in fact you both lose, because they don't get your great product. They don't get your great service. They might think I won because, he didn't sell me anything, she didn't sell me anything, but in fact you both lose. So whoever has the best words wins. So why not? You have to say something. Why not say the best words, the most powerful words, the most heartfelt, honest, authentic words that you can possibly say? And one final thought I want to leave you with, and I'll turn it back over to Eric, is the time you spend working on your scripts is the most valuable time you will ever spend. It might be, you might only spend 5 or 10 minutes working on a presentation before you give it, just to perfect it, change a few words here, a few words there. But folks, those words are the difference between an almost closed sale and a closed sale. I've worked on some of my presentations, and I realized that, I spent 8 minutes working on that presentation, a presentation I've done many times before. And that presentation helped me make another $5,000. That work, that 8 minutes of scripting work, made me another $5,000. It's the highest paid work you'll ever do. So that should motivate you if you keep that in your mind and in your heart.
Fantastic. Next question here. Share a setback or low point you've had in your life. And if you learned from that setback, what's one thing that you learned?
Okay. Here's a recent one. Coronavirus. When coronavirus hit last year, 2020 was starting off really well for me. And then around mid-March, boom, this new thing, hit real hard. We'd heard about it for a month or so, a month and a half, but businesses started laying people off, shutting down. I had some big contracts I expected to come through. They didn't come through. I had some great clients I was working with, and they said, "Hey, Dr. Moine, we're having to close our doors. We can't do this. We can't do that. We can't do seminars anymore." A lot of my clients do seminars. I work with a lot of life coaches. I work with people in the real estate field. I work with people who teach real estate investing strategies. Some of these famous real estate gurus you see on late night television, they're my clients. And so I had business that was canceled. And I realized I have to pivot. I've got to scramble. I've got to be creative. I've got to do new things. And I have a confession to make, folks. I was one of those people that said, I will never be on social media. I had heard stories about people getting flamed on Facebook. I built up 20,000 followers on Facebook, and I said the wrong thing. And suddenly I'm persona non grata on Facebook. I'm hated. I'm the evil person. And so I thought, I don't need it. I've got clients around the world. I'm doing great. So I never joined any social media. And Eric encouraged me to join. And he said, Dr. Moine, if you just join one, join LinkedIn, because everyone in the world, everyone in business is on LinkedIn. So in August, I joined LinkedIn, knew nothing about it. I looked at all my connections. I inventoried all my connections. 0. Goose eggs. I had none. So I started learning. I started, studying the LinkedIn Marketing Masters and learning from them. I started making some connections. I wrote a great profile. I thought it was great. And then I realized about a month later, I needed to rewrite it. And I studied some more things about profile writing, and I've rewritten it about 5 times. and I was starting to make connections around the country, and I was meeting some great people. And I just had to learn how to perfect my messages, and I was reaching a lot of people, but they were not ideal clients of mine. So I defined my ideal client profile, which I encourage you to do. Who are your ideal clients, your ideal customers? I guarantee you can find them on LinkedIn. So now here we are, fast forward 6 months later, and I have over 2,500 great connections around the world on LinkedIn. And I've written a bunch of articles and posts, and I'm just so excited that I'm on LinkedIn. So that's a big setback I had. Coronavirus, it's still with us, folks. And the way that I handled it is I got creative. I got comfortable, very comfortable now. I love being on LinkedIn. I wish I had another 10 hours a day to hang out with my friends on LinkedIn. And I'm getting business from it. I've gotten some wonderful clients and built relationships. And that's how I solved it, is by being creative, doing something new. For me, doing something new. And whatever you're struggling with, we all have setbacks in life. If what you're doing is not working, be creative. Try something new. And if you put your time and your good energy into it, you're going to be successful at it.
Fantastic. Next question. In 5 minutes or less, give us an overview of how you've accomplished a success in your life that you're proud of.
How I've accomplished a success in my life I'm proud of. Well, one of the things is expert modeling. Expert modeling. What is that? You're wondering. It's not pretty models on the runway. That's great, but it is finding a true expert in a field and studying everything they do. I've had the privilege of studying and spending time with people like Ben Feldman, the world's greatest life insurance salesman. I was able to spend 5 days of my life with him, not full days because, he's a very busy guy, but I was able to spend some quality time with him. And that's where I got into scripting. I was a very young guy in my 20s, and we were both speakers at a big international life insurance congress over in Manila in the Philippines. And I noticed that Ben would take notes when he heard a great sales idea, when he heard a great sales script. He turned it into a script. He heard a great new way of handling an objection. Here, this guy was number one in the world. Think about that, folks. And he was in his 70s, and I was in my 20s, and I was hearing this stuff, and I wasn't necessarily taking notes on it. And I talked to him about that, and I started to extract out his strategies for learning. And I've since taught this to hundreds of I've worked with a lot of people in life insurance. I've worked with a lot of financial planners, hedge fund managers, banks. I've done a lot of work in financial services around the country and around the world. And so I started really getting into scripting when I saw that sales superstars, people in real estate and all these other fields, captured the best words they had heard, the best words they said. Because even if you come up with it yourself, even if you say it today, it doesn't mean you're going to remember it next week. None of us have a perfect memory. And if you write it down, you capture it and you can glance at it and you own it forever. One idea, one script can literally change your life. And something else I'd like to leave you with here is we have external scripts we use with our clients and customers, and we have internal scripts because we're always talking to ourselves at the rate of up to 500 words a minute, which is mind-blowing. So every one of you on this podcast, you're listening to me, you're listening to Eric, but you're also talking to yourself. Are you aware of what you're saying to yourself? Are you saying to yourself, this is great, this is fascinating, I'm going to use this? Or are you saying to yourself, I've heard this before, I'm not going to learn anything new? If you say, I've heard this before, I'm not going to learn anything new, that's the kiss of death. You are guaranteed to not learn anything new. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. But if you're saying to yourself, this is exciting, I'm going to take notes, I'm going to write this down, I'm going to use it, I'm going to work on my scripts, I'm going to work on my mindsets, that internal script is going to really empower you to get 10 times more out of this than someone else who has a different internal script. So you want to work on your external scripts and your internal scripts. But I would say something that helped me really make breakthroughs in my life and the lives of my clients, Eric, is expert modeling. So folks, whenever you have the opportunity to spend time with a superstar, not just in your field, but it could be in a different field of sales. Something that amazes me, I work with a lot of financial planners, insurance superstars, is they only want to learn from other people in their field. I only want to learn from other top financial planners. But if they hung out with top real estate people have some brilliant sales techniques and strategies, farming the territory and all these other things they do that certain direct mail strategies that financial planners could learn from. So folks, study other great people in different sales fields and keep an open mind, and you can learn so much that can help you that other people in your field don't know.
All right, next question. What's one way you've used repetition to improve or master a skill?
I would say $1 million scripts. I've hung out with so many great salespeople and worked with them. I've been hired by companies to study their best salespeople and to collect their scripts, extract out their linguistic patterns, and then teach them to average people. And so that's how we broke sales records in mortgage sales, in selling pension fund services, just all kinds of different fields. I'm thinking about selling very expensive vitamins, computer services. And because I've done so much work with scripts, Eric, I've probably memorized well over 1,000 scripts. And so when I'm working with clients now and they're having a hard time closing sales, I ask them, what are your most difficult objections? Or, the concerns you hear from clients, and they tell me, and I'm able to, your question was about repetition. Through repetition, I've got a pretty good memory, and I've just memorized all these wonderful scripts. They hear, I want to think about it. Or they hear, I've got a friend in the business. I've got to buy from him or her. I just know all these, just the best things that the greatest salespeople have told me over the last 35 years. And it's through repetition that, our brains are like a sponge, folks. And if you just go over it again and again, it's going to sink in. And I share this with my clients, and they're amazed, and they say, well, let me write that down, Dr. Moine. I can't always remember where I got it. Where did you get that? Who said that? Sometimes I can remember, but usually I can't. My memory's not that good.
Do you happen
but the point is that I have it.
Do you happen to have one of your script books behind you that you could just kind of show the audience so they can get a sense of what the type of scripting you've done? These are some of the script books up here that you guys can see. These are in big 3-ring binders, where companies have, paid me $60,000, which may sound like a lot of money, but I've had 2 clients that have made over $1 billion from, one of them's in the mortgage business, one of them's in pension business, from scripts I helped them create. They don't give me all the credit, but they say that it really helped. These scripts really helped. And I've got one here that I wrote with Tom Gow, who's one of the most successful financial planners in the world. He's been listed in Barron's Magazine and Worth. This is one that we call the Financial Planners Mastermind Sales Script Book. Most of these I don't sell because I don't know if you can, you can kind of see that. Yeah. Show them how thick that is,
for financial planners, people.
Can you show them how thick the book is?
This book.
So they can get a context of what we're talking about?
This is really comprehensive, folks. This is, it goes on and on. So for example, you go to a section titled, I want to think about it. Most salespeople have 3 or 4 responses to I want to think about it. And then they're out of gas. And they don't know what to say. They're like the deer in the headlights with that blank stare, blank look. We have over 30 powerful, proven responses to I want to think about it. We have responses for every personality style of person. If you're dealing with a highly dominant person, What do you say that works? If you're dealing with someone who's kind of soft and friendly and they need a soft, friendly response, some of them are actually humorous responses because sometimes nothing else works, but a little bit of humor, get them to smile and to feel good, and they just like you more, kind of melts them. And so it's very comprehensive, and you don't have to memorize all those scripts, folks. But as you read through that, that one we sell for $250. You can just circle your favorite ones in each section and start by learning those. And it's really easy to learn them when you just focus on your favorites and you focus on the objections that you have the most trouble with. Like one of them, if you're a financial planner, you hear people saying things like, well, I can do it myself. I can invest in the stock market myself. I'm pretty good at picking stocks. I picked GameStop or whatever it is. And, we've got over 30 killer responses for dealing with that. And it's some of them are just hilariously funny. I remember one of them which is, oh, you like doing things for yourself? Yeah. You like doing things? Yeah. Let me ask yourself a question. Do you give yourself your own haircuts? Do you do your own dental work? Do you do your own dental work? And, you get people to kind of smile and laugh and say, here's the point, George, here's the point. We all hire professionals to help us. I hire professionals. You hire professionals. This is your life savings. This is the life savings of your family. You're 60 years old, George. Do you have the time to make this money back if you lose it? What if we have another crash like we had in 2008, where the S&P 500, the 500 biggest stocks in America, strongest stocks in America, fell 40%? Do you have the time to make it all back? Shouldn't you really be working with a top professional like me? And we have all these other scripts. I've memorized a bunch of them, but those are just some examples. But here's my point, folks. Your script can start with 1 or 2 pages. It doesn't have to be a book. It might, over the course of years, it'll get stronger and stronger. It's a living document. It's not something you write once and say, well, that's done. Times change. Coronavirus changed things. We had to rewrite a bunch of our scripts because of coronavirus. There's going to be things after coronavirus. So it's a living document. It gets better and better and more powerful over time. You just keep adding things to it. So it starts off with just, 1 or 2 pages, and then suddenly it's 7 pages, it's 9 pages, and it's, you're going to feel like you want to kiss it because it's making you money.
Yeah, I wanted Dr. Moine to show you the script book and just also continue to help you understand the depth of his knowledge, because he wrote the PhD dissertation on what separates sales superstars from average salespeople, has came up with the NLP movement, has likely written more scripts than anyone in history, done more expert modeling of sales superstars than anyone in history, and has been doing one-on-one work with people that want to become extraordinary sales professionals, people like myself, for several decades. And so there's just a depth of knowledge that I've never seen in anyone else as it relates to selling. For all of you listening right now and watching, any of Dr. Moine's content that you can get, he has many books. You can find them on Amazon. There's some content on YouTube. Any content that you can find, soak that knowledge up. This is why I have been a student of his now, and I continue to be a student for all of these years. And I love sharing him with other people. Dr. Moine, just a couple of rapid fire questions I want to ask you.
Eric,
yes.
Eric, before you go on to that, I want to correct something. You said
yes.
Developed NLP. I did not develop neuro-linguistic programming. 2 geniuses. I want to give my thanks to them and my praise to them. Richard Bandler and John Grinder developed neuro-linguistic programming. I will always be very grateful to them. And what I've done is I've pioneered some work, for example, in $1 million sales presentations, sales scripting, and other areas, a bunch of other areas. So I've done what I can do to add to NLP, and I've also brought in some things from traditional psychology, academic psychology, because John Grinder is a linguist. Richard Bandler is a brilliant guy. But I have the formal training in the PhD in psychology. So I brought in academic psychology, scientific, research-based psychology to add to that. But Richard Bandler and John Grinder are the geniuses behind NLP.
Yeah, and if I misspoke it, what my intention to say was that you had come up in the NLP movement. You were a part of that movement in the beginning, and then Dr. Moine brought it to selling. Mm-hmm. And I'm living proof of the power of it because I was a bottom producer. Yeah. And within 60 days, I became the top producer at my company. And the knowledge that I teach, the foundation of that knowledge is what I've learned from Dr. Moine. And any of you, if you've ever learned scripting techniques from me, Dr. Moine is, of course, where all that content came from.
And one additional thing I want to add here, Eric, is that, folks, I'm working with Eric now to build his company, Eric Lofholm International, into a $6 million a year company. There are very few companies in the training field that are bringing in $6 million a year. We have a group. We mentioned LinkedIn. We have a group on LinkedIn called Continuous Sales Improvement. You guys should all, there's no cost to join it. You should all go to LinkedIn, connect up with me. I'm Dr. Donald Moine. I know you're connected to Eric. If you're not, definitely connect to Eric. He is my number one student. I've trained over 200 people, over 200 trainers, and a lot of life coaches in my techniques. Eric is my number one student. I'm proud to say he's my partner. He's my peer. And, I've trained over 100,000 salespeople. Eric is probably, because he's on the internet all the time, he's trained more than me, and he's going to reach over 1 million people, millions and millions and millions of people with his new book on continuous sales improvement. So hook up with us on LinkedIn, and because I've also got some great content there that's free of charge.
Fantastic. And for all of you listeners, occasionally Dr. Moine and I team teach, and there are some opportunities for we work with very small groups, and you also can seek out and find out if he has availability in his coaching practice to work with you. He does also work with individuals. So a couple of final questions here, just rapid fire, answer in 1 minute or less. Did you play a musical instrument growing up?
I didn't, Eric. I love music. I listen to about 90 minutes of music every day while I'm working out. And so when I was a kid, I did not play an instrument, but I still have, I've got a couple thousand albums, CDs, DVDs, and I think music is a soundtrack to our lives. I love music, along with conversations. Like the conversation we're having now. Music and conversations are the soundtrack to our lives, so I just love music.
What's one singer or musical group that you enjoy?
Oh, so many. I like Rihanna. I like Justin Bieber. In general, I like high energy music that makes me feel good. I like pop. I like hip hop. I like Harry Styles. I like The Weeknd. Hey, folks, if you're watching this 20 years from now, we're doing this on Super Bowl Sunday, February 7th, 2021. And The Weeknd is going to be performing at halftime. I love The Weeknd. So I like high energy, positive music that gets my endorphins flowing. And whatever kind of music you like, don't let anyone tell you that's the wrong kind of music. If it makes you feel good, if it makes you feel happy and optimistic and high energy, that's good music.
And who's your favorite sports team?
Hey, everyone knows it's the Lakers. You gotta love the Lakers, but if you're a great athlete, I admire great athletes. I mean, it could be Tiger Woods, it could be Michael Jordan, it could be Mahomes, it could be Tom Brady. I admire athletic performance. I was a gymnast. I was varsity gymnast for 3 years in high school, and then I was a runner in college. And I try to stay in shape, but I admire great athletic performance, gymnast, So, yeah, it's the Lakers, man. Lakers, baby, all the way.
All right. Any final thoughts you'd like to leave our listeners with today, Dr. Moine?
I would say work on your mindset. This is a year of change. Last year was a huge year of change. This is a year of change and optimism. You don't want to sit back and just say, oh, it's going to be easy. We're all going to get vaccinated. Coronavirus is going to magically disappear. You want to be realistic and be a lifelong student like Eric is and like I am. And I know you are, because you're taking your time out of your precious day to be with us here today. And join us on the journey. Eric and I have a saying, which is stay in the conversation. Find people that you resonate with and where you respect them, you respect their values. I'm on one of the things I've learned I have 2,500 connections on LinkedIn, and I go to my feed every day, and you just cannot possibly keep up with that many people. So search for the people that you really resonate with, that speak your language, spend time with high quality people, your soulmates, and just type their names and look at their profiles every day, because those are the ones that are going to feed your soul and feed your mind. And stay in the conversation, because working together, we're going to make this a better world. We're going to solve the problems of the world. And I have a saying that I don't have all the answers and you don't have all the answers, but you and me together, we can come up with all the answers we need, and we can solve the problems that we're facing. So it's all about you and me together. It's about working together. I love working with teams. Eric, I want to thank you for the interview. I look forward to getting the link. I'm going to promote it. And for those of you on the call today, on the podcast, on the video, I'm looking forward to connecting with you and learning about you and what you're doing, and how we can all work together.
Fantastic, Dr. Moine. Well, that was a tremendous interview. And like I shared earlier, I love sharing you with my community. And for all of you that are watching or listening, I want to encourage you to share this podcast with your sales team. Share it with the people that you care about that are in sales. They deserve to learn about Dr. Moine and his content. Please come and join us on LinkedIn in our Continuous Sales Improvement LinkedIn group. And to find out more information about the Continuous Sales Improvement podcast and other episodes, you can go to continuoussalesimprovement.com and just select the podcast button. And you can find all of our previous and future episodes. Great to be with all of you today. Dr. Moine, thanks again for an amazing interview and for who you are in the world and for being my mentor.
Thank you, Eric.
All right.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Wrap up our show. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening. If you like this episode, make sure and subscribe to get notified of new episodes each week. And check out our other great episodes by going to continuoussalesimprovement.com. That's continuoussalesimprovement.com. And while you're there, pick up Chapter 1 totally free of my new book, Continuous Sales Improvement. Just opt in when you go to the website. Until next time, keep on improving. I'll see you in the next episode.